Good evening, students. How are you? So, students, we are into chapter 3 of auditing and assurance, which is audit documentation and audit evidence. So, day before yesterday, students, we had learnt about audit evidence. We had discussed that audit evidence is the information used by auditor for arriving at conclusions on basis of which his opinion is based. We had also discussed the meaning of term sufficient appropriate evidence. What is the meaning of sufficient evidence and what is the meaning of appropriate evidence? And before that, we had also discussed at quite a length about different assertions relating to transactions, assertions relating to account balances, and assertions relating to presentation and disclosures. We had discussed about assertions such as occurrence, completeness, and existence, and many more. So students, then how does auditor obtain sufficient appropriate evidence? We have already learned that as per SA 500, the auditor has to design audit procedures to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence. Now, what are the different kind of audit procedures through which or by applying which an auditor obtains audit evidence? So guys, first we will see their names, what are the different procedures, and then we will discuss these one by one, and we shall also be reading all these audit procedures from your modules. Those of you who are referring to modules, we are at page number 3.17 of your module. Okay. So students, and one more request is those of you who have not updated your LCC application form, kindly update your form immediately so that we continue to receive your queries. Okay guys, so what are different audit procedures? So these are students names of different audit procedures. That is, number one, inspection. Number two is observation. First, you familiarize yourselves with the names of procedures. Then external confirmation, recalculation. Fifth is reperformance. Sixth is analytical procedures, and seventh is inquiry. Okay, so these are different audit procedures. Now we shall be learning one by one what is the meaning of these audit procedures and what is the difference between many terms, and in what situations one procedure is appropriate, or in some another situation another procedure could be appropriate. Okay students, so is that clear? You have seen the names of audit procedures. Inspection, I am again repeating the names: inspection, observation, external confirmation, recalculation, reperformance, analytical procedures, and inquiry. Okay students, So now we will learn about first procedure, that is inspection. So what is inspection, students? What is inspection? Inspection, guys, inspection means examining what? Examining records or documents in any form. These might be in paper form, or say these might be electronic records. These might be internal or these might be external. These might be generated by the organization, by the company, or these might be some external documents like bank statement, like banker certificate. Or inspection also includes not only examining records or documents, but also a physical asset. Say when the auditor goes to see machinery installed in the plant, it is an example of what? It is an example of inspection procedure. He is inspecting the same. Clear, students? Similarly, when you go through the past year financial statements of the company, or you check the internal control manuals of the company, how the internal controls are operating, then you are studying the document in
Recording
any
in progress.
other form or in any other media. So is that clear? What do we mean by inspection, guys? So what do we mean by inspection? Is that clear, students? So again, I am repeating it, that inspection is examination of records or documents, whether in physical form or whether in electronic form or in any other media, or these might be internal or these might be external, and examination of physical asset. So inspection not only includes examining documents or records, it also includes examination of an asset, physical examination of an asset. Is that clear? Now you are saying video is buffering. So is the video buffering? I am asking that technical person to look into it if there is problem at our end. Yes, now you are saying that video is clear. So guys, should I repeat again? So inspection is examination. Inspection is examination of records or documents, whether in paper form or in electronic form or in any other media, or examination of a physical asset, of a tangible asset which is present. Okay, so you understand what do we mean by inspection? So inspection is clear to you. Now we come to what do we mean by second audit procedure? What do we mean by observation? Now what is observation, students? Observation, you can understand it simply as seeing or observing the process, some process being performed by others. When the auditors see the process performed by others and they observe it, they are seeing it, how it is being performed. So it is an example of observation. It is an example of observation. Now you would say, sir, give us example of observation. So say when the auditor observe, say, counting of inventories. Management's personnel, the employees of the company are making physical counting of inventories. They are making physical count of inventories, and auditor is also there. He is observing how they are counting, whether their process is correct, whether the counted goods or counted pieces are kept separately, who is noting the counting, who is keeping the record. So all these things, and how the goods are stacked in the godown. Is the process of counting practically easy and feasible? So all these things, when the auditor sees the process, then he is applying this audit procedure, which we call it in the language of auditing as observation. Okay, is that clear? What is the meaning of observation? Yes, yes, students, is it clear what is the meaning of observation? Maman Rafiq Bhai, you are asking what does test of control means? Keep little patience. We are coming it on test of controls during later part of this session in today itself. Okay. For the time being, you can understand test of controls means how internal controls are operating. So testing those controls. So you have understood observation. What, say the auditor goes to the plant and he sees how the manufacturing is being carried out. What are the different stages of production? From where the raw material comes, he is not doing anything. From where the raw material is coming, to which machine it is going, and what are the different stages of work in process, how finally finished goods are being packed, and before packing, what quality control is being what quality control steps are being applied by the company. So all these sort of things. So when the auditor sees somebody else carrying out a process, you can understand in a simple language, it is known as observation. It is known as observation. So you understand, students, what is the difference between inspection and observation? So simultaneously, when we are learning learning the meaning of each term, you should also be clear in your mind what are the distinctive points between the different terms. So how inspection is different from observation? Inspection means examining a document or examining a physical asset, whereas observation means seeing a process being carried out by others. There is some process being carried out and the auditor is seeing. Although both, you can say both relate to seeing or examination, but observation is of different nature. It relates to some process being seen or observed by the by some person. It can be any person. So what is the exact meaning written in your module? It is written as observation consists of looking at process or procedure. It means looking at some process or procedure being performed by others. Now these others could be anybody, like I had given you example of looking at manufacturing process. Now it is again an example of what? It is again an example of observation. Now Sushil is asking, is observation means only physical count of inventories? No, Sushil, it does not always mean physical count of inventories. Physical count of inventories is just an example of observation. There can be many examples. There can be n number of things. Say I have given you an example of looking at manufacturing process. Now this is the same thing, looking at some procedure. Okay. Now Dhanlakshmi is asking, what is the use of observation? Now Dhanlakshmi, tell me how you can make up, how can you be sure about something, observe something. Observation is one of the most important things, not only in your subject, but in this whole world, in this universe. You have to observe things. There are so many things happening around us, but we do not observe. So therefore we miss out many important things. And a person who is very observant, he carefully observes many things which others are missing out. His intelligence, his intellect automatically increases because he is giving attention to the minutest of details. So similarly, say if you are reading your chapter, if you are reading your module, and you are not giving attention to little aspects, you are not observing these from an analytical point of view, then how you will be able to write a proper answer in the exams? So isn't that clear to you, Dhanlakshmi? So I think you should have got your answer, that what is the, you are saying, what is the use of observation in an enterprise? Everything is dependent upon observation, because by looking at something, I may be knowing many things about that thing, about that process. Those details might be clear to me, and which may not be clear to me by reading some documents, but by observing that process, these things become crystal clear to me. The whole concept becomes magnified to me. So is that clear, Dhanlakshmi? Now we come to third procedure, that is external confirmation. What is that? That is external confirmation. Now, what is external confirmation? So broadly, you can understand that external confirmation means verifying some information from third party. Some information from third party. Third party means which is outside the company, which is outside the entity. Because you would understand that as the name suggests, it is external. So it is not internal. So it is not internal. So external means outside the entity, outside the organization, which belongs to a third party. So normally this procedure is applied to confirm account balances. Account balances. Say I want to confirm the balance of debtor, some debtor appearing in the books of accounts of the company. Then I might send, the auditor might send what? External confirmation to that party. Okay. And with the request, please you confirm whether this balance is correct or not, or you send us your copy of account in your books of accounts. Okay, so this is the procedure of external confirmation. This audit procedure is known as external confirmation, when we get confirmation externally, not from the organization, not from within the organization, but externally. Is that clear? And students, one more thing regarding external confirmation is that it is external confirmation, although it is normally undertaken in respect of what? Account balances. But it is not restricted. It is not restricted to just confirmation of account balances. Now you would say कि इसका क्या मतलब है? What does this mean? It means that the auditor can call for confirmation from a third party, not only about account balances, but about some other information. Say the company has entered into some sort of agreement with a third party. So the company has produced the agreement before the auditor, but the auditor again confirms it from the third party कि आप हमें बताइए, whether you tell us whether from the date this agreement has been made, some changes have been made to that agreement, which the company might not be showing. So in this way, the auditor might come to know about certain information. Okay. So is that clear to you that external confirmation normally, you can say normally it is a procedure applied for account balances, but its use is not restricted to just confirmation of account balances. It can be used for other things also, used for confirming other information also, as I have told you. I have given you just an example. Is it clear now? Pooja is asking if the third party doesn't give us information. Now that is a limitation, Pooja. It so happens that third party might not cooperate. They might not give information. That is why we say that auditor considers a variety of audit evidences which is possible in the which are there in the circumstances, and he considers the best available evidence. So if external confirmation is not available, then auditor would consider other audit evidence is available within. However, if external confirmation is available, then since it has been supplied by third party, it is external to the organization, the quality of that evidence increases. The comfort level of auditor also increases. His assurance level, his comfort level increases. Is that clear to you, Pooja? Obviously, Hiral, external confirmation to be qualified as audit procedure, it should be in writing. Otherwise, it will only remain as an inquiry that auditor is seeking some information. The other party might back out. Is that clear? Yes. Now we see next audit procedure, number 4. Now this audit procedure, this we take two of them together. One is recalculation and other is reperformance. Now, what is the meaning of these two terms and how they are different? Now, Hiral Parik, you are asking what is the side agreement? Side agreement means that besides main agreement, the company might have entered into some another agreement which it is not showing to the company, which it is not showing to the auditor. Sorry. So you understand. And guys, please try to apply a little bit of your own mind also. Do not be always in a position that we should spoon feed you. You are in a professional course. You are welcome to ask your queries, but try to apply your own mind also. सोचो कि ऐसा क्या है, because when you would apply your own mind, obviously your thinking process would be in very active mode. Okay. So recalculation versus reperformance. Now what is recalculation, students? Recalculation. Now recalculation means just recalculating, calculating again something, calculating again something which has been done by the company or its employees. So it is simple recalculation. Say the company has provided for depreciation in books of accounts, which is being reflected in the financial statements. Now the auditor would recalculate the depreciation, whether it is arithmetically correct or not. Whether it is arithmetically correct or not, कि भैया सब कैलकुलेशन ठीक है या नहीं, arithmetically correct or not, the rate at which depreciation has been applied and the amount which has been calculated, whether it is correct or not. Similarly, some provision has been made by the company and the company provides the auditor with the working of that provision, that how this provision has been arrived at. So the auditor may check its arithmetical calculation, may recalculate that there might be some clerical errors in applying percentages or these sort of things, totaling errors. So this is a kind of audit procedure, recalculation. It is just elementary thing, but no doubt it is a audit procedure, because you understand that we had read in chapter 1 that one of the objectives of auditor is to ensure arithmetical accuracy of accounts. Okay. Now, Hiral, you are asking, is observation is a part of inspection in any matter? Now, I am not able to understand what you are trying to ask, Hiral. So you are trying to understand that there might be some process in which inspection and observation are both there. This is what you are trying to ask. So there can be something where the auditor not only observes, but he is also simultaneously inspecting. It can be possible in practical cases. Now Himanshu is asking, is there any change in T and C terms and condition of lease agreement can be confirmed externally? Yes, why not? Anything can be confirmed, any information can be confirmed externally by the auditor by sending external confirmation, provided other party is willing to give the confirmation. The auditor has no power to enforce. He cannot say up confirmation though. He has no power to issue summons. He is not a judge कि आप उसने कोर्ट के समन भेज दिए कि you appear before me. So he is sending out the confirmation and he is obtaining the evidence. If he obtains the evidence, then his satisfaction level increases because it has come from third party. If external confirmation is not forthcoming, then obviously a doubt may arise in him and he might have to increase his scope of checking, or he may design something else. It is not necessary that if external confirmation has not come, it is not necessary that if external confirmation has not come, there is always something fishy. It can be due to variety of reasons. Say the party might not be willing to respond to you, or there might be some business issues. They might not be willing to send you the confirmation. Okay. And what do we mean by re-performance, students? What is re-performance and what is the difference between recalculation and re-performance? Now, re-performance, student, means again performing some procedure by the auditor. Say some procedure has already been performed by the employees of the company. Now the auditor again performs that procedure. So that we call as re-performance. So the auditor again performs the procedure carried out by the employees of the company. Carried out by company, its employees. Yes, Jaspreet, you are saying that you have read about audit, you have seen the audited financial statements of some company, and you have also seen the opinion given by the company. Yes, that is very encouraging. You should see these things so that what you are reading, what you are studying, you should know how these things are happening practically. Okay, so this is what application is all about. So what could be the example of re-performance? Now re-performance means say take an example that company's accountant has carried out what bank reconciliation statement. it has made a bank reconciliation statement. Now it is part of the control procedure. Control, it is part of the internal control, that management has devised a system that every month bank reconciliation statement shall be prepared by the accountant. Now the auditor checks bank reconciliation statement for the month of say March 22. Not only checks, he again prepares it himself. He again prepares it himself. So what he is doing? He is re-performing some procedure which has already been performed by somebody else. Now, Kirti, you are asking whether for examination we should do pronouncements also. Kirti, for the intermediate level, it is sufficient if you can remember and study in deep the two modules, because all the pronouncements which are there separately, which are provided to you, all the chapters which we are reading are based upon these pronouncements. However, if there is some confusion or if you want to gain some additional knowledge, you can definitely refer to these pronouncements. Say if you today open your pronouncement book and you go to essay 500. Okay, so I am asking you to open your pronouncement book and go to essay 500, and you just see that what is written in your chapter number 3 regarding audit evidence. All these 30-40 pages are exactly the same as it is there in your pronouncement book, as it is there in essay 500. So I had told you at the beginning, all the chapters, most of the chapters in your syllabus are based upon pronouncements. Only in these modules, these have been explained in a little bit simpler terms with examples, which are not there in the pronouncements. Okay, because pronouncements are text, and these have been made simpler for you by incorporating the same text, but with the help of explanation, with elaboration, with examples. No, Pooja, you are saying that external audit is re-performance of internal audit. No, Pooja. Internal audit is altogether a different thing. They are differ in scope and duties and responsibilities, and their objective is totally different. So some of the procedures you can say that which are there in internal audit, some of the procedure might be carried out by external auditor also, but it doesn't mean that you can say that external audit is re-performance of internal audit. That would be a very simplistic and crude way of looking at the things. Now Dhanlakshmi is asking, where do we find audit reports? I do not find it in respective website. Pooja, these are available on respective websites. You go to the website of any listed company, these are there. Or you can also go to SEBI website, these are there. So you might be looking at the audit reports of say financial year 2021-22. These might not have been uploaded, but if you see for the previous years, these must be there. These are part of the annual report. These are embedded in annual report, and all these document is uploaded together on the website. So when you read the annual report, you would also board's report, and you would also see auditor's report, and all these things, opinion, etc., which we are discussing, it is there. Okay. So is that clear? Re-performance, students. Now we come to another audit procedure, which is analytical procedure. Analytical procedures. So guys, first thing I will tell you that there is a separate chapter on analytical procedures in your module. It is chapter number 8. So you would be reading in detail about analytical procedures in the mean by these procedures. So guys, is the video clear, guys? Video, audio clear? So what do we mean by analytical procedures? Now, this, as you can see, students, this word, this term, analytical procedures is formed from two words. One is analytical and another means when you Yes, students. So now is the audio video clear, guys? So students, we were discussing about analytical procedures. So what do we mean by analytical procedures? Analytical, students, word is derived from the word analysis. So what is analysis? What is analysis? So analysis means judging, evaluating interrelationship between two or more than two things. When you try to understand, when you try to evaluate the relationship between different things, it becomes analysis. You have, I am giving you one simple example. Say you are in your chapter 3, but when you are reading about audit evidence, you are trying it to correlate it to the objectives of auditor. Okay, and what we have read in chapter 1, you are trying to correlate it to. Okay, and by doing so, by making these interrelationships, you are arriving at your own conclusions about your knowledge regarding subject of auditing. Clear? So this is what we mean by analysis. This is what is called as analysis, to evaluate the relationship between different things, between different pieces of information. So that is what is meant by analysis, because you draw relationship between different things, and by reading through those relationships, by reading about those patterns, and by making, you make your own conclusions. Okay, so this is what analysis is all about. It is an normal English word. So we are concerned with analytical procedures. So we are concerned with analytical procedures. Okay. So analytical procedures are those procedures which evaluate relationship, which evaluate financial information made by study of financial data and non-financial data. So first we shall study it with the help of example. What are analytical procedures? We shall study it with the help of example. Say the company has shown sale of rupees 50 crores in its profit and loss account. Okay, and say I know that production capacity of the company, of the plant, is, say, whatever it is, say 5,000 units per day. Let us assume 5,000 liters or pieces, anything. It can be anything. And we also know that at what capacity the plant is running. Installed capacity is also with me, that daily it is running at 3,500. units per day. You make a assumption about single thing, and the plant is producing one single product, the rate of which has also remained same throughout the year, then I can easily arrive at the tentative sale figure, that whether this sale figure of rupees 50 crores is correct or manipulated. It need not be that it should completely tally, but I can make an analysis that if the analytical procedure Yes, Ram. Hello, Ram. So, students, analytical procedures mean evaluation and company statements of say 10 lakh rupees, and the auditor calls for rent agreement, and he tries to and say the rent agreement contains term of how much rent is to be paid on the basis of says what is the total square feet of area in respect of a particular godown, and the rent is also fixed per square feet. So I can calculate that this much square feet area the company has taken on rent, and this is the rent per square feet. So that should be the total rent monthly, and I multiply it by 12 to get the annual rent figure. So these are some of the examples of analytical procedures. Okay, students. So again, I have told you that you would be studying analytical procedures in on analytical So students, I think there is a problem in the internet connectivity. So we should take a break for 10 minutes here so that the connection stabilizes. Okay. So this minutes. Ram. So students, due to instability in internet connection, due to some connectivity issues, we shall be taking a break of 10 minutes right now. Instead of at 7:30, we shall be taking a break right now. Have you heard, guys? Have you have you heard, guys? Please drop your mails that you have heard that break of 10 minutes is starting now. Yes. Yes. Now next procedure is next audit procedure, students. Hope you have joined. Next audit procedure is inquiry. So what is inquiry, guys? What is inquiry? Inquiry, students, as the name suggests, inquiry means seeking information. Seeking information. From whom? From some knowledgeable persons who have knowledge of that matter. Knowledgeable persons. Knowledgeable persons doesn't mean that he should be a scholar, but he should have knowledge of that thing. उसको उस चीज का पता होना चाहिए. Seeking information from knowledgeable persons, and those persons might be within the company, within the organization, within the entity, or outside the entity. Okay. So guys, you have to understand that auditor uses inquiry throughout the audit process. That this procedure is being extensively used by the auditor. It is extensively used by the auditor because every time the auditor would be requiring some sort of information. How did this happen? How you arrived at these figures? So he is always asking for information from the persons who have the knowledge of the information with which he is concerned. Okay, so knowledgeable person doesn't mean, guys, as I have asked you to obtain information from some sort of expert always, although he can seek information from expert, but knowledgeable person means the person who has knowledge of that issue. Okay, and that person, though, or one person or many persons, those might be within the company, within the entity, or outside the company. Like he may ask information from the lawyer of the company regarding pending litigation cases. So if the lawyer is not employee of the company, there is no legal in-house legal department, then it is an example of information seeking from outside the entity. Say, but if some engineer is employed within the factory and the auditor is seeking some information from him, so it is an example of seeking information from within the entity. Okay, so these type of seeking information is called inquiry. And Dhanlakshmi is asking, yes, very good question, Dhanlakshmi. You are asking what is the difference between inquiry and external confirmation. Yes, Dhanlakshmi, inquiry can be oral. Inquiry can be oral. It is just asking for information. You are not saying that you give it to me in writing. Inquiry can relate to any matter. Whereas we had learned that external confirmation is a proper procedure which is usually written, which is always written, and it is undertaken mainly in respect of confirming account balances, although it can be taken in respect of other matters also, but usually it is taken in respect of account balances. So is that clear to you, Dhanlakshmi? And inquiry is oral, it can be written. So inquiry is a process, as a procedure which runs through every stage of auditing. So this is extensively employed by the auditors, because at every stage, from the start of his work to the till the conclusion, he is seeking information. Okay, so that information maybe from the mail would be mainly from the persons within the organization, from the management personnel for those charged with the governance, or it might be from those persons which are outside the company. Okay, is that clear? And the students, you have also to remember that inquiry normally provides what sort of evidence? Inquiry normally provides corroborative evidence. Now, what is corroborative evidence? Corroborative means which supports some evidence. So, which supports some evidence. The auditor has some evidence, but the inquiry is supplementing it. Inquiry is supporting it. Say the auditor has got some document with him. It is evidence, but the auditor is of the opinion that its value as evidence is slightly lower. Okay, so he thinks that it may not be so reliable, so he makes an inquiry. And what information does he get from inquiry? That supplements his earlier evidence. So the inquiry provides corroborative evidence. It supports the evidence which is there. So is that clear? Is that clear to you, students? And Hiral is asking, what is the difference between plausible and possible? Hiral, you are probably asking about plausible is the word used in analytical procedure, in the meaning of analytical procedures in your module. So plausible means believable, you can say. So what do analytical believable or say possible? So what do analytical procedures try to achieve? Analytical procedures, they evaluate the relation, they evaluate the financial information by studying the relationship. What sort of relationship? Plausible, which is possible, not some absurd things. Possible relationship between financial data and non-financial data. Okay, so you understand? Yes, Rekha, you are saying give some corroborative evidence. Yes, you are asking me to give some supporting evidence. Yes. So you have understood, Rekha, the term in its correct spirit. Okay. So are the audit procedures clear to you, students? So are these clear, or you want me to once go through your module also? Yes, students, please tell me, because this chapter is very long. All the things which are there in your module, I am trying to convey it to you in simple language, and I am also referring to the module side by side. Do you want me to discuss it again from your module? Yes, guys, please let me know. Or is that clear? Yes, yes, guys, only one mail from Hitesh. What about others? What about other students? Is the meaning of audit procedures and the distinction between different terms, the audit procedures we have discussed, is that clear to you, or you want me to again go through the module? So 3-4 mails, most of you are saying that there is no need to go to modules, but few of you are saying take us through module also. So we shall go through the module quickly, very quickly. Okay, we shall go through the module quickly, very quickly, guys. So students, these are the audit procedures we have discussed. Inspection, observation, external confirmation, recalculation, reperformance, analytical procedures, and inquiry. Okay, these are the all the audit procedures. This is the chart. So what is inspection? Inspection involves examining records or documents, whether internal or external, in paper form, electronic form, or other media, or physical examination of an asset. Okay, so example is also given. Example of inspection is, example of inspection used as a test of controls is inspection of records for evidence of authorization. Here it wants to say that, say the auditor wants to check that who are the authorized persons, what level of authorization is given to them, that whether they are authorized to do this kind of activity or not. So from where does auditor come to know? He come to know from the documents. He would ask the management to provide them with your manuals which show, which define responsibilities of different persons. Okay, so when the auditor examines any record or document, he is making an inspection. Similarly, when he examines a physical asset, again he is making an inspection. Okay, so now we come to observation. So observation consists of looking at process or procedure being performed by others. So example is, we have already done about inventory counting or performance of control activities. Some employee of the company is carrying out some control procedure. So the auditor sees how he is doing it. Okay, say you go to a bank for audit, and you see that once cash is checked by the cashier, again some another responsible officer is checking that cash, and again manager is checking before it is being kept into the vault. So it is the auditor is simply seeing. So he is just observing the process being performed by others. He is just observing the performance of control activities, that the management, the bank management has devised a control system that these steps should be taken, and the auditor is simply observing that process. Okay, and external confirmation, guys, fairly simple, and we have done it in detail. And external confirmation represents audit evidence obtained by auditor as a direct response, written response to the auditor from a third party in paper form or electronic or other medium. It means it is a written response, and the response may be given by third party from by some letter or by some mail or any sort of other electronic media. Okay. So again, external confirmation procedures are not only used for account balances but also to see that if any modifications have been made to the agreement, like the example we have discussed at the time of studying it, like the example of a side agreement that may influence revenue recognition. It means, say uh, the company has entered into an agreement and by which it is, say, supplying goods to some another company, and on the basis of which sales are recognized. So, but after the agreement has been entered, there is some another agreement. There is some other side agreement, and in this side agreement, there are some extra conditions, say regarding some discount policy or something else. But that side agreement has not been shown by the management to you. So the auditor may ask to the third party if some another agreement exists. So this is the meaning of side agreement. Okay, recalculation, very simple, no need for elaboration. Reperformance means performing some procedure which was originally performed by entities employees as part of internal control. Like we had studied the example of reconciliation of bank statement and reperforming aging of accounts receivable. Okay, so analytical procedures I have already discussed this line from your module, so there is no need for repetition. Now inquiry. So what is inquiry? Inquiry consists of seeking information of knowledgeable persons, both financial and non-financial, which may be financial or non-financial. Like I had given you example of seeking information from an engineer. Now he is a non-financial person. If I seek information from say accountant, then he is a person of finance. Okay, within the entity or outside, inquiry is used extensively throughout the audit in addition to other procedures. So inquiries may range from formal written inquiries to informal inquiries. Simple. Evaluating response to inquiries is an integral part of inquiry process. Now it means that whatever inquiries you are making, you have to evaluate their response. You have to judge the effectiveness of response. Okay. So response to inquiries may provide the auditor with information not previously processed or with corroborative audit evidence. So it means that the auditor has made an inquiry and earlier he had performed some audit procedure, but after inquiry he gets some information which was not there in the earlier audit procedure. Okay, so or it might so happen that he has obtained some evidence by performing some audit procedure and the inquiry supports the evidence, the earlier evidence which he has gathered. Okay, it supplements it. Okay, so it is known as corroborative audit, which corroborates. Okay, or say if after inquiry the auditor gets to know that information from inquiry is different from what he has obtained, so the auditor may choose to design some additional audit procedure. He would say contradictory information mil rahi hai, so he would try to provide some additional audit procedures. Okay, so is that clear to you guys? Corroboration is clear? Yes, guys. So all the audit procedures are clear to you. So now students, we shall be coming to other two things. Now these are risk assessment procedures, and further audit procedures. So what till now we have studied, what till now we have discussed are the different kinds of audit procedures. Okay. Now when the auditor starts an audit, he undertakes risk assessment procedures. Now it is stated in essays that auditor shall carry out risk assessment procedures and further audit procedures. So first he has to carry out risk assessment procedures. You would be learning about risk assessment procedures in chapter 4, but we will be getting an overview of what is meant by risk assessment procedures. So basically I will make you understand what is the meaning of risk assessment procedures, and although you would be studying it in detail in chapter 4, but for the time being you can understand what is their scope, what is their meaning, what is their nature. Okay. So risk assessment procedures. What are risk assessment procedures? Students, risk assessment procedures refer to audit procedures. These are audit procedures. ये कोई बाहर से नहीं है, जो हमने ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स अभी पढ़े हैं उन्हीं में से हैं. दीज आर द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स, लेकिन इनका पर्पस डिफरेंट है. व्हाट इज द पर्पस? देयर पर्पस इज number 1 to understand the entity and its environment, including its internal controls and its internal controls. To do what? To assess the risk of material misstatement. To assess risk of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Misstatement whether due to fraud or error. तो स्टूडेंट्स इसका क्या मतलब है? इट मींस कि जो हमने ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स पहले पढ़े हैं, द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स वी हैव स्टडीड, these are taken from those audit procedures, but उनका लिमिटेड स्कोप रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर्स का ये है कि वो सिर्फ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन क्या है, वो कैसे काम करती है, उसका इंटरनल कंट्रोल क्या है, इसको समझने के लिए है खाली, और ताकि उसका रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट असेस किया जा सके कि कौन से एरियाज में फ्रॉड या एरर हो सकते हैं. सिर्फ इस चीज को समझने के लिए जो प्रोसीजर्स हैं उनको हम रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर्स कहते हैं. इज दैट क्लियर टू यू गाइस? इन सिंपल प्लेन हिंदी आई हैव टोल्ड यू that risk assessment procedures refer to those audit procedures which are undertaken to understand the entity, its environment, the environment in which it's operating, what is its business, and its internal control, what kind of controls the management has designed Okay, what are the systems the management has designed to see that the business of the company, the business of entity is running effectively and efficiently without any fraud or errors. So the purpose of these risk assessment procedure is this much. The purpose of risk assessment procedures is to study the entity and its environment, including its internal control, to assess the risk of material misstatement, whether due to frauds or errors. The auditor assesses the risk. What is the risk involved? What is the risk involved? Which are the fraud prone areas? Which are the error prone areas? Okay, so the auditor makes a risk assessment. So the risk assessment is made by risk assessment procedures. Is that clear? रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर कुछ उन्हीं में से हैं जो कि हमने अभी ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स पढ़े थे. ये कोई सेपरेट नहीं है. These come from those very audit procedures which we have discussed just short while ago. Okay, is that clear to you students? What is meant by risk assessment procedures? At this stage, you have to understand this much only. Clear, guys? Yes, guys, clear? Now, say what are the risk assessment procedures? कौन से एग्जांपल्स हैं जो कि रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर्स के हो सकते हैं? Now, how will auditor arrive at the risk? That what are the risk prone areas, whether due to errors or frauds, whether at the total seeing the whole picture at the level of financial statements or at the individual level of assertions. Guys, you have also to remember that risk assessment procedures relate to both at financial statement level as a whole, at the financial statement level as a whole, and at the assertion level, at the individual assertion level. कि हर एक एरिया में, in every area, what is the auditor's assessment of risk? Okay, and he also sees in the financial statements as a whole what is the assessment of risk. So what could be the examples of risk assessment procedures? So examples of risk assessment procedures. Say one example could be observation. Observation is also a risk assessment procedure. Inspection is also a risk assessment procedure. Say when the auditor observes something, then before he actually starts work, he starts collecting evidence, then he is observing, say he is observing the entity's operations. He is observing the entity's operation, how these are being performed, what sort of activities are being done in the company. So what he is observing, it is a risk assessment procedure at this stage. He is just assessing the risk, but he is assessing the risk by employing the audit procedure of observation. Okay, similarly, when he is seeing some documents, some manuals of the company. Okay, so he is inspecting these. So when he is inspecting these, he can make out what are the deficiencies, what are the weak points, what are the missing points. So this is also an example of risk assessment procedures. Okay. Similarly, inquiry from persons within the company, within the entity, is also a sort of risk assessment procedure. So you understand, students, what are the risk assessment procedures? What is their scope? The purpose of risk assessment procedures is to understand the entity, its environment, including its internal control, to assess the risk of material misstatement, whether due to errors or frauds at the financial statement level and also at the individual assertion level. In respect to each assertion, the auditor would make his own risk assessment, and in respect to financial statements, he shall also be making his risk assessment. Okay. So the audit procedures remain the same. These, however, some of the audit procedures are employed as risk assessment procedures. You can understand it in this way. Okay. And Vaishnavi, you are saying that you are now interested in auditing. Vaishnavi, you have to understand that there is a pretty much misconception, I think, in students who are doing CA course, that they are always I think spending disproportionate time in doing numerical work. They always spend disproportionate time in doing numerical work, and they totally ignore subjects by which they have to understand and they have to remember, they have to learn, which you call as theory subjects. But I do not see the things in that way. For me, every subject is a theory subject. Even accounts without theory is nothing. Accounts is based upon theory. Unless you understand theory, the logic behind that, you will not be able to solve your questions. So what happens during the study period, what happens is that since that you spend more time working on numericals, because your mind gets engaged in that, and while reading something you feel a sense of boredom, so you just leave after reading 2-3 pages. But in this way, Vaishnavi, or to other students who are listening, students, you will not be able to clear your C exams. You will not be able to get marks, and that is the reason why so many students fail, because they are not able to write anything when they are supposed to write, because their minds are not conditioned for that. They come, many of the students come to CA course thinking that it is a some sort of course totally based upon accounting. But it is, although accounting is a core subject, similarly, as you might have understood, that its applications find in auditing. So auditing is what CA profession, core of CA profession is all about. Okay. So guys, is that clear? Now Nitish is saying it is difficult to remember keywords. Nitish, I am sorry. If you do not remember keywords, I feel sorry for you. You would have to remember. There is no other option. There is no other option. You have to sharpen your mind and you have to remember. So guys, is that clear? The thinking, the thought process I am giving to you about the papers, is that clear? Students, you have to move in this direction. Success will be yours. But if you do not move in this direction, you will not be able to clear your exams. It is as simple as that. The choice is yours. Okay. So risk assessment procedure is clear to you, students. Now we come to another thing, which is further audit procedures. Now the auditor has carried out risk assessment procedures. Now he has to deploy what? Further audit procedures. Now what are these further audit procedures? Now it consists of two parts. What are those further audit procedures? These consist of two parts. Number one, tests of control. And number two is substantive procedures. Now, what are tests of control, students? First, we will be understanding things in general terms. Then we shall be going to your module. First, make an understanding what is the meaning of the term which we are studying. What is its nature? What is its scope? Because half of your problems will be sorted out when you completely understand what is the meaning of that term. अगर आपको वो टर्म का मतलब समझ में आ गया, एग्जाम में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी. There would be no problem in the exams. But problem is, the issue is that we are not able to understand the meaning of terms. So what is the meaning of tests of control and what is the meaning of substantive procedures? Now, what are tests of control? Tests of control, students, I have told you that management devises an internal control system for effectively and efficiently running its business. Okay. So tests of control means testing the controls. Testing the controls. कि जो मैनेजमेंट ने कंट्रोल्स लगाए हैं, whether these are working or not, whether these are able to prevent errors or frauds, or if they are not able to prevent error or frauds, then are they able to detect and correct errors or frauds? Say if some management has put some control and even then some fraud has occurred, it means the control system is not able to prevent that fraud or error. But once error or fraud has happened, is the control capable of detecting and correcting? तभी तो उस कंट्रोल को लगाने का फायदा है. It is only then the utility of control will be there. If some control, if some check has been put by management, but that control is not able to prevent some error at some stage, error or fraud, or if some error has been committed or fraud has been committed, it is not able to detect and correct, then what is the utility of that control? So the purpose of tests of control is to see that controls which have been employed by the management are capable of preventing an error or fraud, or detecting and correcting an error or fraud. It has been detected, it If it is not able to prevent, then the control should detect and correct. Okay, what corrective steps are taken? So you understand what do we mean by tests of control. So tests of controls are audit procedures. Again, these are also audit procedures from the those 8 audit procedures which we had studied. These are also audit procedures. By definition, these are audit procedures. These are not something separate. So tests of controls are also audit procedures designed to evaluate whether controls are capable of preventing an error or fraud, or detecting and correcting an error or fraud, or you can say material misstatements, whether due to error or fraud, because error or fraud both cause material misstatements. So is that clear? Is that clear to you guys? What do we mean by tests of control? So broadly you understand, guys, what do we mean by tests of control, or do you want me to repeat again? Because guys, this terms is used throughout in your chapter 4, 5 and so on. It would be there in every chapter. Yes, Naga Lakshmi is asking, does tests of control include inquiry? Yes, Naga Lakshmi, why not? Inquiry is a very important audit procedure. So like tests of control include, these can include inquiry. अगर कोई, if some control has been devised by the management, so auditor, he inquires, he seeks information. What is the control, how it is working? Okay, so inquiry is definitely a test of control. And what are other tests of control? Say inspection. Inspection is also a test of control. Say I am reading internal control manual. I am reading internal control manual of the company. So what I am doing? I am applying procedure of inspection. And this procedure is what? This procedure is also test of control. Because by studying this internal control manual, I would be gaining an insight of what? Of internal control. And I would be seeing whether internal control, whether controls are capable of preventing material misstatements, due to error or frauds, or if not preventing, then detecting and correcting, or detecting and correcting. So inquiry is also a test of control, inspection is also a test of control, and reperformance is also a test of control. Say guys, it is very important. Reperformance is also a test of control. Now Rekha is asking, what is the difference between inquiry and ND inquiry? What is, Rekha, meaning of ND inquiry? Are you writing no inquiry? Please send clear message, Rekha. And Dhanlakshmi is saying, what is meant by control? Dhanlakshmi, I am telling you so many times. Now it is not possible for me to repeat everything again. So for the last time, I am repeating it, that control means the system developed by the management for carrying out the work of the organization efficiently and effectively, and to ensure that financial information produced by the company is reliable. Okay, you would be studying about controls, about internal controls in detail in chapter 4 on risk assessment and internal control. पूरा chapter है Dhanlakshmi. There is a complete chapter on controls. Okay, so for the timing you can understand this much. This I have already explained in chapter 1, chapter 2, and now I am again explaining it in chapter 3. Okay. So what are the examples of tests of control? What are the examples of tests of control? Now, one example is inspection. This we have already done. Okay. One is inquiry. Another is reperformance. Say if some control has been carried out, control procedure has been carried out by the employee of the company. Okay. And if the auditor reperforms it, he again carries out it, then what does he gain? He gains satisfaction. About what? He gains satisfaction that control is functioning properly, that control is able to prevent material misstatement. Like I had given you the example of bank reconciliation statement. We had considered an example of bank reconciliation statement as part of control. Okay, the management had developed a control that bank reconciliation statement is to be monthly prepared by the accountant. It is a control. It is a control designed for what? Designed for what? That there are no material misstatements. हर महीने आपका बैंक जो है टैली हो जाएगा बुक्स में और बैंक में जो बैलेंस आ रहा है उसके साथ, सो दैट कि उसमें कोई एरर या फ्रॉड नहीं हो सकता अगर हर महीने टैली होगा तो. नाउ द अकाउंटेंट इज carrying out this process monthly, is carrying out this process monthly. So he is following the control which has been devised by the management. Now the auditor wants to see whether this control is working or not. जो बैंक स्टेटमेंट रिकंसिलिएशन स्टेटमेंट उसने बनाई है वो प्रॉपरली रिकंसाइल्ड भी है कि नहीं. सो ही again reperforms. So he again reperforms that procedure. He again prepares the bank reconciliation statement himself. Say he might be preparing the bank reconciliation statement himself for a month. So he is reperforming the procedure which was originally done by the company's person, company's employee. So he is reperforming, and if by reperformance nothing adverse comes to his light, then it means, what does it mean? It means that control is working effectively. It means that control is working effectively. And it has worked throughout the period. It is capable of preventing material misstatements, whether due to errors or frauds, or if it is not able to prevent, then it is able to detect and correct material misstatements. So these are all the inferences we can draw. So you understand, guys, inspection, inquiry, and reperformance. These are again examples of tests of controls. Again, these are audit procedures. Test of controls are also audit procedures. Okay, like risk assessment procedures are also audit procedures. These are not separate. Similarly, tests of controls are also audit procedures from the set of audit procedures which we have studied today at the very beginning. Is that clear? Is that clear, students? Now we come to substantive audit procedures. Now we come to substantive procedures. Now, what are substantive procedure, guys? These again consist of two parts. Number one is these are tests of details and substantive analytical procedures. And tests of details again consist of two parts. These are tests of transactions and tests of balances. This you can say as vouching, or this is verification. So we will be studying this, what are substantive procedures and what are tests of details, what are substantive analytical procedure. Okay, and what are the further breakup of tests of details. Okay, students, is the chart clear to you? Now, substantive procedures. Now, substantive procedures, guys. Substantive procedures are the what? These are audit procedures, no doubt. These are audit procedures to detect material misstatement at assertion level. अब हम स्टूडेंट्स ट्रांजैक्शन लेवल पे आ गए हैं. नाउ वी हैव कम टू ट्रांजैक्शन लेवल. ओके, सब्सटेंटिव, एक्चुअल सब्सटेंटिव प्रोसीजर. सब्सटेंटिव मींस जो किसी चीज को प्रूफ दे करती है, सब्सटेंशिएट करती है. इट इज ए लीगल वर्ड विच सब्सटेंशिएट समथिंग. Which substantiate something, which proves something. So substantive procedures are audit procedures designed to detect material misstatements at assertion levels. Now, say I want to check purchases. So these relate to transaction of purchase. So I would be checking many assertion about the purchases. I would be checking whether the purchase has occurred. Okay, whether all the purchases are complete. Okay, so whatever procedures I am applying there, these are substantive procedures. Okay, these are substantive procedures. Say if I am inspecting books of accounts, if I am inspecting purchase bill file, if I am inspecting purchase invoices, then I am applying substantive procedures, because the ultimate purpose of it is to detect material misstatement at assertion level. At the assertion level, I am trying to check different assertions made by the management in respect to purchases. Similarly, I am checking various assertions made by management in respect to sales. Okay. So is that clear, students? So I might be employing recalculation as substantive procedure. I might be rechecking calculation of sale bills, whether there is some error in it. Okay. So you understand क्या डिफरेंस है टेस्ट ऑफ कंट्रोल और सब्सटेंटिव प्रोसीजर के बीच में? स्टूडेंट्स, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द difference between, before we proceed further, now first of all understand what is the difference between tests of control, because many new terms are coming, so you should not be confused. So what is the difference between tests of control and substantive procedures? So tests of controls are those procedures which are used to study the entity, its control environment and internal controls to assess the risk of material misstatement, okay, at the assertion level, because the auditor would be checking tests of control in respect of every assertion. He is that management ने कोई चेक लगा रखा है, कंट्रोल लगा रखा है कि मेरी सारी परचेजेस जो 2021-22 में है वो बुक्स में आनी चाहिए. तो देन आई एम टेस्टिंग दैट कंट्रोल. at the assertion level. And what are substantive procedure? Substantive procedure, you can understand in general terms, actual checking, which you can understand in layman terms, कि जब मैं उस चीज की एक्चुअल चेकिंग कर रहा हूं, these are substantive procedure which are validating or not validating the assertions made by the management. Clear, students? Tests of control and substantive procedure के बीच में difference. Test of control, the purpose of test of control is to ensure that controls are capable of preventing material misstatements or detecting and correcting material misstatements. Whereas purpose of substantial procedures is to detect material misstatements at assertion level. Here the purpose was to see whether the controls were effective, whether controls were operating effectively, and here in substantive procedures the auditor verifies whether in fact there is some material misstatement or not at the assertion level. So substantive procedures are designed in such a way to detect material misstatement at the assertion level. Clear to you guys? Difference between tests of control and substantive procedures. Is the point clear? Now, we had seen in the chart that substantive procedure consists of two parts. These are tests of details and substantive analytical procedures. So tests of details, as we had seen it, that these consist of tests of transactions. Say we are checking transactions relating to purchase, sales, relating to expenses. So these are tests of transactions. We are checking transactions. We are testing transactions. And another is tests of balances. When we are checking account balances. We are making verification. Say we are testing balances of debtors. We are testing balances of creditors. So these are examples of tests of balances. These are examples of tests of transactions. Clear? And now we come to what do we mean by substantive analytical procedures. So substantive analytical procedures. तो ये substantive procedures में ही जो analytical procedures हैं उनको substantive analytical procedures कहते हैं. So again students, you would be reading in great detail about substantive analytical procedures in chapter 8 in context of essay 520, but here you can understand, yes, you are understanding it correctly, Hiral. Actual performance audit procedure, from understanding point of view, you can say that these mean substantive procedures. So substantive analytical procedures refer to those analytical procedures. These are analytical procedures. These are analytical procedures which are employed by the auditor near the year end. Say there are a large number of transactions, okay, and the auditor wants to make certain analysis of the whole thing, okay. He wants to make some analysis by applying analytical procedures at the year end to gain a complete picture about the financial statements. Okay, to analyze the various ratios. Say he has observed that during the year 2021-22, gross profit to sales ratio is, say it is coming to 15%. Okay, and in last year it was, say, 20%. Now he wants to see what he performs analytical procedure. He is performing analytical procedure to see why is there difference of 5%. Why is there difference of 5%? He wants to see. So he applies the procedures to see what is the reason behind this variation. It might be that some sales could have been understated. It might so happen. There can be many reasons. Or it might so happen that cost of sales has increased, but the corresponding selling price has not increased. So it has led to fall in gross margin ratio. कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट बनाने की कीमत तो बढ़ गई लेकिन उसकी मेरे को प्राइस कस्टमर से नहीं मिली. So it would lead to fall in gross margin. But he wants to see when he when he is comparing the financial statements have been prepared. He has made tests of details. He has also undertaken tests of balances. Now he wants to take certain analytical procedures which are substantive in nature, which are going to validate or invalidate certain relationships. So I am giving you example of this fall in GP ratio, fall in gross profit ratio. Yes, Hiral, you are stating correctly. So you understand what do we broadly mean by substantive analytical procedures? And students, you would be learning about these substantive analytical procedures in detail in chapter 8. So now we see what is written in your module regarding risk assessment procedures and substantive procedures. Yes, Hiral is saying that substantive external confirmation is example of substantive audit procedures. Yes, it is. In fact, we shall be studying it from your module right now. So guys, risk assessment procedures. So now you have got fairly broad idea about general things. Now risk assessment procedures. Risk assessment procedures refer to audit procedures. These are again very important. These are audit procedures. These are not something different. These are the audit procedures. Guys, be sure. These are audit procedures performed to obtain an understanding of the entity, its environment, including an entity's internal control, to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. And these are carried out at both financial statement level as a whole and at assertion level. This is very important. That it means that auditor assesses the risk as a whole for the company at financial statement level and also at individual assertion levels. Okay. And further audit procedures are tests of control and substantive procedures. We have just learned. So what are tests of control? Tests of controls are audit procedure designed to evaluate operating effectiveness of control in preventing or detecting and correcting material misstatement at the assertion level. So this is important. Tests of control operate at the assertion level because controls would be devised for each and every activity. So there would be controls for every assertion the auditor wants to check. So the tests of control may be defined as audit procedure designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of controls. So whether the control which has been devised, it is operating effectively or not. So audit procedure designed to evaluate operating effectiveness of control in preventing what? In preventing or detecting and correcting material misstatement at assertion level. That is very important. Pooja, Rahul, again you are asking same simple questions, which means that you are not applying your mind. Again you are asking what is assertion level. Just now I have also explained to you assertion, and in the previous session, in the very first lecture, we had only done assertion. Assertion level means when the auditor is checking all the assertions of management, whether the transaction has occurred, say in respect of transaction, whether it has occurred, whether it is complete, okay, and such type of things, whether it is accurate. So you get what do we mean by assertion level? Assertion level when all the assertions which can be inferred from financial statements, these are being verified by the auditor. Okay. So you can understand it in this way, that when say some expenditure is being stated in the financial statement or income is stated in the financial statement, then the auditor would see that what controls are there, because it would not be possible for the auditor to check all the sale bills running into lakhs of transactions. So he would be testing controls कि भैया आपके कंट्रोल ठीक चल रहे हैं, आपका सेल्स पे कैसा कंट्रोल है, आपका परचेज पे क्या कंट्रोल है, आपका एक्सपेंसेस पे क्या कंट्रोल है. So he would be testing those controls. So that is why we see that further audit procedures include tests of control and substantive procedures. खाली substantive procedure से he would not be able to express his opinion. He would have to test, he would have to undertake tests of control. Is that clear? So the auditor shall design and perform tests of control to obtain sufficient audit evidence as to operating effectiveness. His tests have to be designed in such a way that he has to test that whether controls are operating effectively or not, because the auditor's assessment of risk of material misstatement includes an expectation that controls are operating effectively. Say if the controls are operating effectively, the auditor would assess risk of material misstatement to be low. However, if the control is not operating effectively in respect of some assertion, then the auditor will assess it as high. Agar if the control is not operating effectively, then there is a greater chance of errors and frauds. And if there are errors or frauds, then there is more chance of material misstatement. Is that clear? So again, very important. Now this B point is very important. This question can come at 2 marks question, students, remember. This is a perfect question for 2 marks question. Substantive procedures alone cannot provide sufficient appropriate audit evidence at assertion level. That substantive procedures अपने आप में sufficient नहीं है sufficient appropriate audit evidence के लिए. These may have to be combined with tests of controls. Okay, these are not sufficient in themselves. Is that clear? And now nature and extent of tests of control. कितना आपको टेस्टिंग करनी है? Now to what extent and what should you do? What is the nature of tests of control? It means to say that. So now these are the points. Say if the consistency with which the controls are applied. Say if they control, the management has developed a control, it has designed a control, and it has been regularly employed by the by the company. It has been regularly followed by the employees and officers of the company. So if it is consistent, then auditor would be gaining more assurance. He would be undertaking less tests. he would be undertaking less procedures. Okay. By, say, we had taken the example of bank reconciliation statement as a control procedure. So if the management has made a rule that bank reconciliation statement is to be prepared monthly, and that has been prepared monthly consistently, it has been consistently done, then the auditor would be gaining comfort. He would be gaining comfort. He might not feel undertaking more tests in this area, because he would be forming an opinion that the control in this area has been applied consistently. Yes, Hiral, test of controls are being checked by internal auditor. Internal auditor definitely checks control system. He not only checks controls, but he also gets corrected. He also rectifies the deficiencies. Okay, at what times the controls were applied. And another important matter is that whether control to be tested depends upon some other controls. Whether one control is dependent upon some other control, then if that control is working effectively, then the auditor gains assurance. Okay. And another thing, inquiry, this is very important. This is also a 2 marker. Classic, perfect question for 2 mark. Correct, incorrect. Inquiry alone is not sufficient to test operating effectiveness of controls. कि खाली इंक्वायरी करने से किसी कंट्रोल की इफेक्टिवनेस जज नहीं हो जाती. मैंने पूछ लिया मैनेजमेंट के किसी आदमी से, आई हैव गॉट सम इंफॉर्मेशन एंड ही सेड सर ऐसे हो रहा है, एंड आई गेट सेटिस्फाइड. नो. Inquiry combined with inspection or reperformance may provide more comfort, more assurance than inquiry and observation, since an observation is pertinent only at that point of time at which it is made. It is very good, important. Say, students, combination of inquiry with inspection, inquiry plus inspection plus reperformance, it is a good combination. Why? Than inquiry and observation. Why it is so? Tell me. Why it is so that inquiry plus inspection plus reperformance versus inquiry plus observation? Why this is a better combination than this as a test of control? For testing control, why this is a better combination than this? Is video clear, guys? Video audio clear? Please let me know. You are saying stuck. It is stuck. Yes, guys, there might be some problem at your end. From here it is okay. So students, you have to understand that when you observe something, now you are observing it in present time. Now if I am seeing some work performed by somebody, then I am doing it in present time, in current period. But I want to see whether the control has operated in previous time, say 3 months back or 4 months back, whether it was so or not, then observation is of little use in tests of control. Then क्या use आएगा? Inquiry plus inspection. Inspection would be on the basis of document, okay, or on the basis of asset, plus re-performance. I would try to re-perform that control. कि भाई साहब वो ऐसा था या नहीं, ऐसा होता भी है कि नहीं, क्या ये कंट्रोल ठीक चल रहा है, whether it is operating. So that is why we say that inquiry plus re-performance plus inspection is a better combination of audit procedures than inquiry plus observation for testing operating effectiveness of control. Is that clear? Is that clear to you guys? Guys, one more thing you have to understand in terms of audit evidence, that auditor always obtain persuasive evidence, which may not be conclusive always. Now, what is may not be conclusive? What is difference between persuasive and conclusive? Now, this term would be also coming many times. Persuasive evidence means that auditor has obtained evidence which points that the information on which he is reliable, he is going to rely, can be relied upon. It is reliable, but it is not conclusive. It is not pakka 100%. It is not guaranteed. Again, the same concept, guys. The same concept of assurance, of reasonable assurance. It is somehow filtering down everywhere in the subject of auditing, in your study material, in the subject of auditing, in the whole thought process. It has filtered everywhere that the evidence which the auditor undertakes, the auditor obtains, is persuasive in nature. It persuades him. It persuades him that you can rely upon it. It is not conclusive. There can be some ifs and buts there. Okay. So you understand? Now, matters the auditor may consider in determining the extent of tests of controls. अब आपको कितना टेस्ट ऑफ कंट्रोल कहां तक लगाने हैं, तो क्या क्या फैक्टर्स हैं उसमें. One factor is expected rate of deviation from a control. We have applied a control, then what is the possibility that control will not be followed? Okay. So the frequency of performance of control by the entity during the period. वो control organization में कितने time लगा, like in bank reconciliation example, we have considered that monthly, whether it is applied daily, monthly, or fortnightly. What is its frequency? So these type of things. The length of time during the audit period that the auditor is relying on the operating effectiveness of control. So all these things. Hiral is asking, explain persuasive again. So Hiral, persuasive, you have to understand there are two terms, persuasive and conclusive. Auditor obtains and accepts evidence which is persuasive in nature. It may not be conclusive. Conclusive means finality, that is not challengeable. There is no ifs and buts, कोई कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता. it is the matter is concluded. वो कहते हैं ना जज ने हथौड़ा रख दिया, the proceedings have concluded, the proceeding conclude हो चुकी हैं. No, the audit evidence is persuasive. It is persuasive. It persuades the auditor. It leads him to somewhere. It shows him the direction. Although it gives him high assurance. It gives him high assurance, reasonable assurance. Yes. Akash Neil, you are on the right track. Akash Neil, you are on the right track. So is that clear? Is that clear? Now, timing of tests of controls. Now, the auditor shall test controls for the particular time or throughout the period. Now, it is for the auditor to decide whether what type of testing he wants to do. So, audit evidence pertaining only to a point in time may be sufficient for auditor's purpose. But if he wants to see that controls have operated throughout the period, then he might want to test that what is the management's monitoring system. Say, I want to check that this one control which the management has applied has been carried on daily. So, what I would be checking? So I would ask them to show me the records that who is checking that these controls were applied daily. What is the record available with you? Whether there is some electronic record, whether it is there in your software, whether your IT system is such, or whether there is some manual record. Okay. So the auditor would see how the controls themselves are being monitored. कि अगर मैनेजमेंट ने कोई कंट्रोल लगा दी है, अगर वो उसको मॉनिटर ही नहीं कर पा रही है कि वो कंट्रोल चल भी रहे हैं कि नहीं, तो उन कंट्रोल का क्या पर्पस है. बेसिकली आपको ये समझना है कि कंट्रोल शुड नॉट ओनली be there, but they should be working effectively throughout the period. And how the auditor would come to know that these are working, the auditor would test the monitoring of controls by the management, because it would also be part of the internal control system of the management to see that monitoring of controls is also being done. That whatever system they have devised, some responsible person is monitoring those controls. Okay. Now Hitesh is asking, persuasive means inclusive? No, Hitesh, no. Persuasive and inclusive are very different terms. Inclusive means to include something. Persuasive means to persuade, to take somebody along a direction, to persuade him that the evidence is okay. I am persuaded to accept it. Okay. Is that clear to you guys? So using audit evidence obtained in previous audits. Say, guys, it may so happen that auditor wants to use the audit evidence about operating effectiveness of control in previous audit. Say the audit of last year has concluded and there is audit evidence before me relating to testing of controls. Now it is my judgment, it is my professional judgment that I would see whether I can use that control or not. Whether the tests which have been made, tests of control which have been made in the previous audit, whether I can rely upon it or not. So it would depend upon many factors like effectiveness of IT controls, risk arising from characteristics of control, whether it is manual or automated. Okay. How the monitoring is being done. So all these type of things. say if the controls are automated and the same same automated system is being carried out in the current period also, then I might rely upon the controls, tests of controls which have been carried out in previous audit. Okay. No, Nagalakshmi, you are saying persuasive means change in nature. No, I have already explained to you. Persuasive means the evidence should be such that it is persuading me to accept it, that it is of good quality, but it is not absolute. It is not complete. Complete in the sense it is not absolute. It is not conclusive. It is not conclusive that it has been concluded. Okay, is that clear? So, specific inquiries by auditor when deviations from controls are detected. Say if the auditor has tested control and he has detected some deviations. Okay, say again taking example of bank reconciliation statement, the accountant has not carried out bank reconciliation monthly. So if some deficiencies have been detected, the audit, what he would do, his reliance would decrease. His reliance would decrease on the control. He may undertake additional tests of controls are necessary. Okay. And he would also see whether controls which have been designed can these be relied, क्योंकि वो आपके follow ही नहीं हो रहे. I have tested and I have seen this much deviation, so why should I rely upon these controls? Because these have increased my risk of material. These have increased the risk of material misstatement. Okay, and the potential risk of misstatement need to be addressed using substantive procedures, and he would have to see that he has to increase his area of substantive checking because controls are not that reliable. There are some deficiencies have come to his notice, and therefore he may want to keep, since he would always be wanting to keep his audit risk low, therefore he may have to increase area of his substantive checking. He may have to deploy substantive audit procedures. He may have to increase their quantity to qualify the test of sufficiency of audit procedure, so that audit evidence obtained is sufficient because the controls are deficient. Okay, is that clear? Now Prabhas is asking, can you again define expected rate of deviation? Yes, Prabhas, you can simply understand expected rate of deviation means to what extent the actuals are changing from controls. Like some control system devised states that this aspect has to be achieved. Okay, but when the auditor is testing that control, then that aspect is not there. That aspect is not achieved. Rather, there is some change in it. There is some deviation in it. So, if there is some deviation, then the auditor would take into account expected rate of deviation. Okay. So, is that clear? Is that clear? So guys, today we have done about audit procedures. We have learnt about different type of audit procedures. We have learnt about inspection, observation, external confirmation, recalculation, reperformance, inquiry, and analytical procedures. We have also discussed what are risk assessment procedures and what are tests of controls which are used to test the operating effectiveness of controls to prevent material misstatements. We have also discussed what are the substantive procedures, and we have also learned that tests of control and substantive procedures operate at a certain level. So all these things, students, I have tried to explain to you in general simple terms, so that you understand it first, and when you read it from module, the process becomes easy for you. So I think you have been able to understand the language in which I have been able to convey to you. Whether things have been clear to you or not, please let me know, guys. And guys, do not leave. Once you study, listen the lecture, do not leave it there. Once you listen the lecture, you need to read the same from your module, because it would be still fresh in your minds. So say tomorrow you can read it from your module, or today, then the things which you have remembered right now, these will gain further strength in your minds, because these concepts are still fresh in your minds. Otherwise, you will have to do whole the exercise from the very beginning, from the very inception, as a fresh exercise. So that is the importance of understanding and reading and then remembering. Okay guys, so thanks a lot for patient listening. Good night to all of you. Okay guys, good night. Yes.